So with any spinal problems, first thing I like to address is core strength, starting with stability. Since we want to get your back firing in a way that'll hold the vertebrae in place, you want to so this is attached like slightly diagonally up from where I am, and then you're going to go to where you feel some resistance, knees bent. So to help stabilize your spine, you're going to brace the core, and I want you to keep like a finger space in the lumbar spine off the ground, so that we can teach that spine to stabilize in neutral. I know normally people say to push your back into the ground. We're going to focus on getting that neutral spine position. So I'm going to grab one end of the therapy band in each hand, brace that core, and pull down. This is going to also help activate the lower and middle traps and stabilize the spine that way. So you're working core and back here. A progression from this one would be to lift the legs so that your shins are parallel. Again, still keeping that slight curve in the lumbar spine. Pull here. And a progression from here would be start extending one leg at a time, keeping that good strong core brace. Back up. The next progression would be the same thing, but extending both legs. Once those lower and mid traps get stronger, you can come into a standing position here. Again, we're anchored slightly diagonally above where we're pulling from. Core engaged. Down and back. So making sure that the shoulders don't roll forward here, that you keep a nice upright posture through the whole movement. Exhale to pull. Inhale at the top. Another good one for creating that good spinal stability, core stability, are dead bugs. But again, I want you to keep that slight curve in the lumbar spine. So bracing here, and you can start with just one leg at a time, or you can start extending opposite arms, opposite legs. Making sure to keep that solid core engagement the whole way through. Another good one for stability, this is going to help strengthen the transverse abdominis, so that helps with rotation and stabilization during rotation. So anchor a band at about sternum height. Center yourself, chest up, core engaged, lifting through here. Nice and stable back here, so I'm not scooping my hips or tilting my hips, just a nice neutral position there. And then exhale. Inhale here. Exhale as you press. And then you also want to work that spinal flexion and extension. For this one, we're going to do front and back sagittal plane. So you can start without weights and then work your way up to using weights. This one, we've got your hips are supported, so it will be more of a focus on the upper spine being able to flex and extend, but strengthening the upper back will also help with the lower back. It's all tied together. So this is going to be a little bit less difficult on the hamstrings. So you would take your weights here, you're going to forward fold with a nice curved spine. Just like you're doing a child's pose, chin is tucked. And then you would roll it up. Think about stacking your vertebrae as you come up. The arms, the lats pull the dumbbells towards your side. We're going to lift up here. This is where we get that lumbar spine involved. Up, 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 up. At the top, neutral. Tuck the chin and roll it back down slower than how I'm going. Just going a little fast for time's sake here. All the way down as far as you can, and work within your range too. And when we have hypermobility, we want to strengthen end range. Another variation that we can do here, this is going to be more for spinal stability. So, and it'll get a good stretch. It'll get the hamstrings a little more lengthened. So you can be here, but starting here is a good place to go. If you can't go all the way down, you can use an incline bench, bring it up, and bring your chest to that instead. But here you would take some dumbbells. Cable RDLs are less strenuous on the back, on the low back. So when you move into standing RDLs, I would start with the cables. But for seated, this way we have the lumbar spine supported with the hips. You're going to keep a straight back in this one, and you're going to hinge at the hips, going as low as you can while keeping good core engagement, contact in the feet, and then come back up. And then to work on more low back spinal flexion and extension, take dumbbells here or start with no weight. Starting with no weight is a good way to assess if you have the mobility and stability to get into it. So here, and again, we're going to tuck the chin, round the shoulders forward this time, and roll down, starting with the upper spine. Now we're getting into the low back. Soft knees here, and you're keeping those dumbbells up against your legs. Go as low as you can without losing form. So if your knees start to bend more, come back up a little bit, and then roll it back up, keeping your belly button drawn to spine and chin tucked, dumbbells against the legs. All the way back up, stacking the vertebrae, and head neutral. You'll also want to strengthen your spine's ability to stabilize and maintain posture. So that's where some hinge movements come in handy, where you are keeping your back straight. So instead of rounding the spine this time, you're going to take no weight to start, working up to it, dumbbells, RDLs. Good core engagement. Send the hips back, soft knees, dumbbells stay up and down. The legs, back is staying straight, so I'm not rounding here. The thing about hypermobility is you can't stretch the pain away. You have to take your time and strengthen those muscles throughout the whole range. So if you get to somewhere around here and that disc likes to slip, that's your end range, and you're gonna wanna lift through that spine and work on hinging at the hips or bending at the knees. If you bend at the knees and then your back rounds right here, that's where that low back is gonna pop right out of place. So strengthening and lengthening at the same time. And then same thing with your hamstrings. You're gonna want to strengthen them, not just stretch them. So that's where I mentioned the hinging more so than squatting, because when you hinge, you also lengthen your hamstrings as you're hinging over. And it's basically like loaded stretching. For loaded stretching, you can put your heel up on the block, up on a block. You can use a step. This is a pretty low block. It's a good place to start. Somewhere lower is going to be easier than somewhere higher. And then you can take dumbbells or a band and anchor it at the bottom, like down and diagonally. That's going to be similar to the cable machine, how it takes a little bit of load off of the low back. But here, to stretch and strengthen the hamstrings, you would take your dumbbells, soft knee on the standing leg, straight knee but not locked out. So hypermobility, you're going to have locked out is going to be your straight, and we want to get that a little bit soft there. So dumbbells here, hinge. This back knee is going to bend a little bit more, and that's okay. So go ahead and let the back knee bend a little bit more as you hinge forward. We're focused on lengthening that hamstring, going to its end range. You'll find the end range by your back will want to start rounding. You want to keep that back nice and straight. For me, my end range, not warmed up, is right here. So I would go to here with the weight so that it's loaded, and then I would stand back up, pulling the hips forward. So we're pushing the hips forward with the glutes, and we're pushing our heel gently into that block. And that's where we get that loaded stretch. Anyways, I know that was kind of a lot. Feel free to ask any questions if you have any follow-up questions on this.